Hey guys, thanks for stopping by to check out this video. I'm going to show you how to make sauerkraut and also some of the benefits that are good for you. Stick around. Alright, first I'm going to tell you what you need to make this sauerkraut. Good thing to begin with is a large glass bowl, not metal or plastic. Then we're going to get our cabbage, and this came from the supermarket. It's really normally pretty cheap, 49 cents a pound. I got an organic one. You can get green, purple, any color you want. You can mix them together, but just to start with, green cabbage. Get your beautiful big knife for the chopping. Mason jars, various sizes, depends how little you want. Again, glass is important, and of course, salt. I like sea salt. You can use Himalayan pink salt, any type of natural occurring salt. So you might ask, why should I make my own sauerkraut at home? Well, first of all, it's really high in vitamins C, A, and E. It's going to boost your immune system, help you detoxify. It's also really good for digestive health. Has natural occurring probiotics, which really help digestion, can help with irritable bowel syndrome, and keeping fiber in your digestive tract. It's overall really good for the gut. It's also found to help fight cancer. So a daily dose of sauerkraut can go a long way. Alright, so to get started, get your cabbage out, give it a nice wash, rinse, and then we're going to remove the outside leaves. We don't need these guys because they're a little wilted and could be having some extra dirt on there. So now that we have our cabbage, we're going to cut it. And sometimes it's really hard to start first cutting, so you get a large cutting knife. It's got to be pretty sharp, and just be careful as you're cutting. First is cutting it in half, and then you want to take a look in the center. This main fibrous stem, take a vertical cut towards the middle and just cut it out. This part we don't use. We don't need it. So I'm going to cut out the center. And then you're ready to start chopping it up. Now there's different ways you can cut it. You can use a knife, just cut it as finely as you want, or it can be large, or you can use a food processor, spin it around, make it nice and fine, or some people like to use a grater and just grate your cabbage. But today I'm just going to use the knife and do it old-fashioned way. So cut it into as many halves as you can, being careful not to cut any fingers. Now that you have all your cabbage cut, see, I like to have a little bit thicker, chunkier pieces. That's just how I like it. You're going to make a mess no matter what you do, so don't worry about cleaning up until the end. There's going to be stuff flying all over the place. Once you have your cabbage in the bowl, you got to use your salt. I use natural sea salt. And use, for one cabbage, 2 to 3 tablespoons of salt. But I stopped measuring. I just have to sprinkle it on because I know just how much I have. The goal is this salt is going to bring out the water inside the cabbage and start getting some of that nice juice that's going to help the fermentation. So you really got to lather it up, get a lot of good salt in there. 2 to 3 tablespoons to make it evenly spread. Once you get enough salt, salting the cabbage, you're going to let this sit for about 10 minutes. And as it sits, the water is going to pool out into the bottom. Okay, we're back. It's been about 10-15 minutes. I'm letting the salt soak and pull the water out of the cabbage. You're going to reach your hands into the bowl. And this is where it gets a little messy, but you really want to start to squeeze that juice out. So it takes a little bit of manpower, a little bit of strength, but you really want to break open the fibers, the cellulose in the cabbage as the water starts leaking out. You want to squeeze it out because that's going to help the fermentation process, really help quicken the softening of your cabbage and your sauerkraut. So now it's time to place the cabbage that's been soaking in its juices inside a container. Now there's different ways people do this, but I like to use the mason jars with the lids. Now there's a large, small, usually with one cabbage you can get about 2 or 3 of the small ones or 1.5 of the large ones. So use any jars you have at home with a lid that you can easily screw on and off. Now I'm going to use 2 small ones and just see how much I can fit in here. So really the goal is just fill the jar until there's about 1/2 inch to 1 inch of air or space on the top. Now we want to get the cabbage packed in there with all the juices in the inside. So the water is going to fill the top over, because the lactobacillus are anaerobic bacteria. It means they don't like oxygen, and oxygen is going to impede the process. So you really have to get them submerged. Now, the cabbage can really pack in there, and so what I like to do is press down with my fingers, really start to get the juices coming up in the bottle. And you're always going to make a mess, and that's just part of the fun. So now I've about reached the top where I want to leave the amount of space. So I'm pressing in, and you can see all the water coming out of the cabbage is filling to the top. Now there's no air space. All the cabbage is pretty much filled in there, and you got the water on top. This is how you want to make it. Alright, so now that we have our cabbage in the jars, what I like to do is just test the salt content to make sure that it tastes pretty salty. What you want to do is make sure that it tastes salty but not overly salty to your tongue. And if you happen to put too much salt in, it's okay. Just pour out some of the liquid and add some spring water. Not tap water, but spring water. Okay, so we're ready to start the fermentation process. Once you have your jars, you're going to take a lid, any type of lid's going to do, and just screw it on tight enough so that fluid doesn't leak out. And you're going to store this in a room temperature area. I like to put it high on the shelf, out of light. So check it once a day. You're going to open it, let some of the gas out, because as it ferments, it's going to be producing CO2. You're going to let a little gas out and then cover it again. Now, the longer you store it, the more sour it's going to get. So you have to pay attention to your flavor, to your taste. I usually do a week, maybe 2 weeks, depending on the temperature of the house. Temperature, if you're in the summer, it's going to ferment faster. Winter, it's going to be a little slower. So week to 2 weeks, try it. And then when you're done, put it into your refrigerator. And that's going to slow the process down. It's going to be at the right flavor for you. Alright, so there you have it, your homemade sauerkraut. It was pretty easy. It's cheap, cost-effective, gives you probiotics, digestive health, vitamin C, nutrients, anti-cancer fighting properties, all in one nice little bottle. So tell your friends, make some at home, and enjoy it with every meal. Breakfast, lunch, dinner, throw it on anything to make it taste good. Alright, so you made some sauerkraut. Hope you enjoyed it. If you check down below in the comment section, the area of the info, I'm going to place some resources for some books, some websites, and also a link to a PDF document of instructions and benefits on how to make your own sauerkraut. So check it out. I'll see you next time.